was there.
Oh,
So it worked out really well.
good.
Mhm. Yeah.
I got a complaint yesterday.
Oh, what'd you do?
So when they're gonna grade gravel road, really rough.
Which one?
Thank-
Murphy?
It's closed.
Yeah.
Graded until 127 opens back. So.
How'd that go?
Not good.
I took 27 tonight. And
27 or Murphy?
I should.
Oh, so you went around the road close?
Yeah,
Then?
I could have.
Oh, you didn't go around. You turned up over to, came over to
No, but I took
91,
Murphy down to,
21.
well, actually Natchez, I took 75th over.
Oh,
Wasn't bad.
yeah.
Actually Natchez with pavement.
Then Murphy, I imagine. Yeah. I imagine.
Leroy, did you see all the dirt movement at corner of Natchez and 175th? Tree service that's working?
No.
They've got a berm probably this high all the way around.
Oh, yeah. Probably gonna plant trees,
Hmm.
something in there. Nothing right away.
Eight 30. They're all going to be late. Apparently, the whoever's that has the broadcast rights don't want to see good ratings in the Midwest. You know, where people watch hockey. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One click, other click. Move your finger to this side of the touchpad. It is a little technical, isn't it? Oh, that's the one right there.
Partway there.
Partway there. It'll go. You can make it full screen. It'll give you down the corner. Oh, see, there you go. Yeah.
You don't have to know that. Oh, no good. Oh, you still
Imagine
in the
that.
neighborhood? Yeah. You wanna go down around the corner? Guy's building a garage
Lynn in Monterey.
on Lennon Monterey. Yeah. And tell him to dump a couple loads of crushed rock in there. He's got a big black trailer park. Driveway. Yeah. Tell him to dump a couple loads of dirt. Oh. Pretty messy. Black dirt.
There's a mess back there.
If you would.
I thought he dumped some, he had crushed rock in there already, and he got more dirt. Yeah, he needs more.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take care of it.
In your vast travels.
Yeah.
Great. On-site marketing has a big white pod sitting on the lawn.
Hmm.
All my Carolyn.
Oh yeah.
We'll call them by.
Ted just tried to call me.
What?
He did.
Could be.
Like on Nevada? No. 6 o'clock, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, we're going to begin by a continuation of the 2022 Local Board of Appeals and Equalization. Looks like, Tom, like you've got 16 properties here that between the time we met and today that you're able to meet with and come to an agreement, correct? Okay, everybody has the list of properties in front of them there. And if you look at those changes and what there was settled on, handful, that whole bunch, about half of them were no change, and then there was some change on some other ones. If everybody's okay with that, I would take a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Al.
I'll second. I'll second.
I got Leroy on the second. A motion is second to sorry.
Point of reference, can Al approve if he wasn't at LBA?
Oh, good point.
So Brent, you made the motion
I will make it. No, I just think that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Sure.
to keep it consistent.
Yep.
Yeah.
To keep it consistent. All right, so I have a motion, a second to approve the consent agenda for LABE. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Would you sign that,
It's
please?
just gonna be our main one.
That'll be the main one right there. Next up, Tom, you gave us a packet here on parcel ID 0490-80240.
You guys have requested a copy of the grid put together. We did that included in the packet. And with the count grid, it is showing an increase in the value from 272 to 365.
Yeah, pass that over to them. Okay. Council members, do you have any questions on the comp grid or the
I don't know how the process works. When do I get to interject?
hang on, let me see if there's any questions or anything from the council first.
I have no questions.
No,
Nothing?
no.
If you do wish to speak, though, I do gotta have you come to the podium. If you do me a favor, there's a square button on that microphone up there. If you hold that down, there you go. And if you'd state your name, please.
Nicole Ingerville.
Okay, Nicole.
This is the parcel that I own. And I believe that all of the comps that Tom pulled are all residential, non-homestead. Tom, is that correct?
Yeah.
They're not comparing apples to apples. My land is ag, non-homestead. He said that he couldn't find any comparable sales ag, non-homestead. I found a parcel, but he said it was out of the city limits, right? It was in Elko New Market.
Yeah.
But there are two parcels within a stone's throw that are ag, non-homestead. So Tom has said that I'm setting the market value, right? So my question would be, why didn't the other two parcels increase to my market value? And is that going to happen? If I'm setting the market, wouldn't the two parcels be similar
Yes, yeah, they'll increase.
this year?
Not for this year, for next year.
So are we going to do any kind of increase to the parcel that had a zero increase? So why are we not comparing ag non-homestead land to ag non-homestead land? And he said that I own two parcels, that if I were to combine them, then he would look at them differently. I've explained to Tom that I am farming both parcels, which is 15 plus acres, which puts me in the I'm a good farmer category. So just because I've kept my investments separate, right, I'm getting penalized. Yet my neighbors haven't been charged a dime. Not an increase.
Okay, but we're not talking about taxes. We're talking about value.
Right.
You
their
said
value-
charge. They're
I'm
not
sorry,
talking
I'm sorry.
about-
Their value hasn't increased a dime. And again, we're not comparing apples to apples. Why is there not any ag non-homesteaded parcels being compared to my ag non-homesteaded parcel?
Because your value as a residential property, you're taxed as an agricultural property. We've told you this several times.
The best use for that land,
It's a 7-acre residential property.
no, it's not. It is a ag non-homesteaded parcel that I'm combining with my other ag non-homesteaded parcel that has been used for ag land since the beginning of time. Why all of a sudden, since I purchased it, is the best use residential land? That's all I'm asking.
'Cause
The
we're-
guy before me, he had it. His best use wasn't ag. His best use wasn't. Or his best use was. And he got the market value of ag land.
And he separated them all off and sold them.
No, I bought it from a guy that only owned that parcel, Terry Quinnell.
Okay.
And his best use was never residential. And he only owned that 7 point some acres. So how come all of a sudden when I purchased it and I purchased the other one to make a big farmland, why all of a sudden is this magic farmland? Nothing's changed with the land. City sewer and water hasn't come through. I'm still farming it. The best use for that land is ag land, and it should be taxed like my neighbors.
It is being
Or
taxed
market,
as ag land.
it should be market valued as my neighbors. I keep using the wrong words. I'm sorry.
There's a big difference.
I know it should have the same market value as my neighbors. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And ma'am, what do you think the market value should be?
Excellent question.
Okay,
So if I take the two parcels that's owned Stone's Throw, the market value of that one went up 25% this year. Like I said, the other parcel, which is ag non-homestead land, went up 0%. Okay, and then the other one also went up 0%. So if you want to take 25%, or I know all these people went 50%, increase my land market value 50%. But not taking into account that it's simply ag land, it always has been ag land, I've kept it in ag land. That's what it should be. I bought it because I did my due diligence. I looked at the taxes and what it would be. And now I'm not even getting a fair comparison.
Yes, Brent.
Mr. Mayor, if I can ask another question, and we've had a lot of these, we had a lot on the consent agenda. So for the group, can you just again, please remind us when you bought the land and what you paid for it?
I bought it in 2022, so 2020. Did I buy it in 2021 or 2022 in March or April or May?
So that would have been March, April, or May of 2021,
So a year ago.
a year ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. And I paid 365 or 75. Because I bought it for a long-term investment to farm and I was going to get my money back over the time of the land. I know I overpaid for the farmland. Nobody in their right mind would pay for that farmland, or Casey's would have purchased it a long time ago. So just because I had the means to buy it doesn't mean that I can sell it and market value that ag land.
you have
Nobody's
something else,
going to
Brent?
buy it.
Well, I was just gonna say, it really becomes the best compromise.
Kinda is,
Because
doesn't
it was during the period
Mhm.
that the comps would be looked at during the survey period, if it was that time in 2021.
Ag land.
Okay, but because you paid for it, that becomes comparable. And what better comp is there than the exact piece of property that is being looked at?
That is only one way to assess land, is
Okay.
by looking at purchase price.
Okay.
The other way is to take a holistic approach.
Okay.
And that's why I'm here to explain that not only do I own that parcel, but the other parcel, which I have it all in ag farmland. Yeah, on paper, you're absolutely right, just looking at it. But that's not what's happening. You have to look holistically at across the board. My neighbor's market value is ag land. I've kept it in ag land. I bought the other parcel to keep in ag land. I'm actively farming it. Look holistically at it.
Okay.
We don't have water and sewer yet. And I agree, when that comes through, the best use might be residential. Right now, ag land since the beginning of time.
Okay,
I'm not real, I don't take a real holistic approach, I guess, because I must be looking at it different. I'm looking at it and saying, that's the price, it's the best comp.
mhm.
I want to make sure that we're not doing a disservice to our other residents.
Sure. Okay, excuse me, ma'am, we're holding a meeting up here. We're not having a debate in the residents back there right now. Leroy, any thoughts?
No.
Okay, well, what do you guys want to do?
So Tom, the approach is if we make a decision, and then if the property owner disagrees, then her next step is what?
County board.
Is the county board with,
Yep.
right,
County local
the-
board of equalization,
Yes.
right? Not the elected county board.
yeah, right.
Correct.
Yes.
The Board of Equalization, and that is a special board.
Mhm.
So it's just real estate professionals.
Sure.
Well, I look at the recommendation from the county, and we have gone with everything they have said. I think looking at this, it says, we will, and I'll quote, we will leave it up to the board to decide if they feel it to be appropriate to increase the assessed value of the subject property. We recommend that the board either affirm the assessed value of $272,500 or increase the assessed value to $365,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the decision we have to make is one or the other. I don't think there's any middle.
No. Yeah, again, to your point, the price less than a year ago, this property was sold for near the price of $365. That seems like it sets the value. What's somebody willing to pay for it, right? That's the value.
Well, whatever we come up with tonight, it'll move to the next step,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
I'd imagine.
And my feeling is we look out at every property owner in Credit River first. And I think this sets the number. It'll be interesting to see what the special board says. I would make a motion that we increase the assessed value to 365, which is the amount that the property owner paid for the.
Okay,
I think we should leave it where it is.
Okay. So I will withdraw my motion.
okay.
It sounds
Are
like,
you making
it
that,
sounds like it would fail, lack of a second.
sorry, then you're making an alternative motion then
Oh, sure. Yeah.
for 272.5?
Yep, I'll second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to affirm the value of 272,500. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Tom, do you have anything else for us tonight?
That is it. Just signature on the certification.
All right. In the meantime, I'll take a motion to close the local Board of Appeals and Equalization.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Brent.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Leroy. Motion is second to close the 2022 local Board of Appeals and Equalization. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, next up, approve or amend the rest of the agenda. Anybody have any changes for the agenda tonight? Do you have anything? You're good? Al, you're good?
You ready? Good.
You good?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Al. Motion is second to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Deputy Strack. Good evening.
We're still on.
It is still on. I see the green light from here.
So I don't have the monthly report because they tell you guys they're switching to quarterly.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think you did, but I think the other deputy was here last month.
Marshall.
Yes.
So they're switching to do their quarterly reports, but any questions on anything? I know we've had a ton of calls recently.
Yeah.
The road closures, the new residential areas.
Yeah.
It's getting busier. We have one smash and grab at the dog park.
Cleary?
Yep. On
Really?
the 9th of April.
Okay.
Other than that, we haven't had any thefts. Been pretty quiet for calls. Traffic complaints is majorly the biggest thing right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Believe it.
And it's only gonna get worse because they're doing construction everywhere.
Yep.
I mean, 13 shut down right now, so.
Oh, down in Savage.
Huh?
Down in Savage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
If,
So,
if you're bored,
yeah,
169th and 167th. Guy on a white dirt bike flying around, cutting corners, going through yards.
what time of the day? All the time?
He was out yesterday for a little bit, this afternoon for about an hour. He was out in the field, nothing dirt, and then he round through the neighborhood
Is he on the roads or just in the grass?
on the roads.
Okay.
Well, pretty fast. So if you want to get the squad dirty, you know. You could race.
Yep. So I mean, we were requested by Hench, SM and Henches to sit on 27 there for a while because they were driving around the barricades. And I've been trying to sit on Murphy Lake and deter them from
Yeah.
driving that road. It's worked several times and then people just drive by me and look at me. So,
Yeah.
And then I know you emailed me on the Nevada one.
Nevada.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. The contractors are working on those houses and they tend to
Yep.
fly out of there, fly in the morning and out in the afternoon.
Yep. And then we just took a call yesterday. My partner did on Crescent on the development that's over there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Off of
Crescent
that.
curve.
Yep. Some construction tools were taken. So,
Okay.
so those are the three big items for me, at least for the construction zones. And
Yeah.
the traffic
I think that's gonna be,
all summer.
Yep.
It'll get busy.
Well, do what you can do, Jeff.
Yeah.
Being out there makes a difference.
Yep. So other than that, nothing
Okay.
majorly to report. We'll have a 2-man car for the rest of the month. I'm training somebody, so
Training?
we'll have 2 officers over here.
Uh-oh.
So just so you're
Did I
aware.
let you train somebody?
Absolutely. Actually, it's Sarek, he came from New Prague. He's been a deputy, or he's been an officer for 13 some years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just started
Okay.
with us, so
Good.
trying to get him over here eventually when we have, like, yeah, he did the city's work, so.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, so you'll see 2 of us in
All
the
right.
same squad around for the next month.
Perfect.
So,
Sounds good.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Be safe out there. All right. Consent agenda. Those items on the city council agenda which are considered routine, non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from the consent agenda shall be placed on the agenda under old business. On tonight, we have on the consent agenda, meeting minutes from the April 18th, 2022 meeting, 6127 170th Street East, extension to the date to remove the existing dwelling, 2022 staff compensation, and the check summary for May 2nd. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody'd like to pull and consider separately?
Just one question on the extension. What's
Yeah.
the extension date gonna be extended? Just another 6 months or
Yeah.
a year
Yeah.
Not later
Is-
than October 31.
or?
I just couldn't remember the date. I know I read
Yeah,
it.
that's
Okay.
what it
Yep.
is. Yep.
No, I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, Leroy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Al. I've got a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the city council. The public forum will be no longer than 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The city council may discuss but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Good evening, Commissioner Wolf.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, everybody. Tom Wolf, Stock County Commissioner. When he said 13, there was some whatever.
And Savage.
construction. Yeah, it's out towards New Prague too. They're gonna do
Yeah.
that stuff all. So that's, yeah.
There's
Just
construction
closed the whole place
everywhere.
down. Yeah, construction everywhere. And then the only other thing I have is we did our redistricting 2 weeks ago, and we went with Plan 9, which is basically the same as what we have
Mm-hmm.
right now, which I think is a compliment to what they did 10 years ago, that, they got the numbers right. And so that was pretty good. So,
Good.
and Barb Brecky does not have to run because her district
Same.
hasn't changed much. I think it's 600-700 people. So
What about you? You have to run?
I do.
Everybody else says?
Everybody. else
Everybody
does.
has Barb, huh?
Yep.
Hmm.
Everybody, yeah.
Tom,
Okay.
what is the area that did change? I know I can look at it online. Just offhand, is
Just a
there
little bit
anything?
of Prior Lake, Savage is just all one,
Sure.
pretty much,
Yep.
some,
Mhm.
Shakopee, it just got so big that, so Dave Beer took a little more, I think I have the same Prior Lake, but it's 3 precincts now instead of 2.
Okay.
So, but it's everything basically north and, I don't know, east of, like from Total Rental down to Tractor Supply. Everything on this side of 13
Mhm.
is this District 2. So,
Okay,
yeah, so.
Sure.
Shakopee's the big one.
yeah.
And there was a plan that had, it was Plan 4 had 4 people possibly from Shakopee, and
Wow.
That doesn't
Nobody-
make sense.
nobody said anything about it. And I said to somebody on the Shakopee City Council, I said, does it look like there could be 4? She said, oh, yeah. Well,
Hmm. Wow.
so that could be easy.
That's crazy.
That's all I have.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else for open forum tonight? Hey, Tim.
Update on the neighborhood houses. I know Scott County dropped the ball a couple months ago. How are you guys coming on? driving
There's
through
been
and
action.
Corralling that up.
There's been some actions recently.
So wheels are in motion.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Tim. Anybody else for open forum tonight? Hearing none, let's close open forum tonight. No public hearings. Let's move into general business. Number one is resolution 2022-17 calling for the assessment hearing for the 2022 overlay projects and the 2022-20 resolution declaring the official intent to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of the improvement bonds issued by the city. Good evening, Shane.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Would you like to introduce your topics tonight, please?
Yeah, so I think before the council considers the resolutions, there is a document called a updated funding, let's see, agenda report, revised funding scenario.
Yep.
And so that document just kind of shows what the original feasibility project estimate was and what the actual revised estimate is now based on actual contractor bids. So I have in table 2, I have what I proposed as a revised funding source with 230,000 coming from municipal state aid funds. The assessments remaining the same at 182,000, and then $84,000 coming from our patching budget. I did have a discussion with the city treasurer today, and together we kind of worked out a second option, which just basically increases the amount of MSA funding to keep a little bit more money in our patching budget. So the patching, if you recall, the patching budget for paved streets is $120,000 on an annual basis. And so that would leave more monies in that budget item if it's needed.
Okay, for the patching.
For the patching.
Yep.
I don't think as far as the option 1 or option 2, I don't think there's a need to decide that tonight. But the city council does have to decide tonight if we're in agreement with the total amount being assessed to the properties remaining at 182,000.
Okay.
So that is actual, or that number is in that resolution that you're considering tonight. What Dominique and I discussed was that we have a couple of projects that we still don't know how they're going to come in yet. We have the 170th Street culvert project that we've done some survey work, and we're working on a quote package for that right now. And then we also later on the agenda have a microsurfacing project to go out for quotes. And so depending on how those come in, I think will help us answer. But you know, so far all of our bids and quotes have been coming in pretty high so far this year, and it's all tied to the rising cost of petroleum products.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for the explanation on that. And yeah, I think you're right. We don't need to decide on the funding 100% tonight, but again, the assessment pieces we do have to decide on. And I think both those options have it remaining at 182,000, so it doesn't change the assessments as we had talked before. Correct. Yeah.
Shane's not recommending changes
To the assessments, correct. In both the options of the funding that were proposed, as you know, at least for models tonight, not changing the assessments, just changing it, the other funding source if we decide to, or it's either add more to the patching budget or use more MSA funding for the patching.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, if the council is ready to consider those resolutions tonight, there is a blank in the proposed date of the assessment hearing. And so that would have to be probably discussed prior to considering a motion.
Yeah, we probably need to come up with that date. Shane, when would we be ready for that assessment hearing?
I believe there is a publishing requirement in the statute, and also a requirement to publish in the newspapers. I believe that's 2 weeks before the date of the hearing. Does that sound correct, Bob?
Yeah, 2 weeks. And also there's a personal letter notice has to be mailed to each of the residents. So we're probably, either end of the month or beginning of June, or probably beginning of June would probably be better. I don't know about your timeline, Shane, but
Yeah, I think it just really depends on how fast staff can get the letters out, but I would say beginning of June gives us just a little bit more breathing room.
Okay, to do it, so
So we're looking at June 6th.
we could combine it with our June 6th council meeting? Either before or
That would be
after?
plenty of time in terms of publishing. I know
Right.
that the deadline's Monday for Saturday.
Yeah, that would be for publishing.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd almost have to publish it.
Do we have to
Now,
publish it
or-
twice, Karen?
I believe it's just once.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually these ones are just once.
I think June 6th.
6th.
Would-
We could do that right away at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
I think that'll be a relatively quick one.
Yep.
Shane, are you available that night?
I am.
All right. Perfect. And then, Shane, do we have the assessment numbers written in the resolution, right?
We do.
Yep. Okay. Well, if you guys are agreeable with that.
Chris,
Yes, Bob,
what time would the assessment, because you have to put that in the notice.
6 PM.
It's okay.
If you guys are comfortable with that, I would take a motion in a second to approve these two resolutions. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Andrew. All right, so I've got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2022-17 calling for the assessment hearing for the 2022 overlay project and the 2022-20 resolution declaring the official intent to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of improvement bonds to be issued by the city. Also setting the assessment hearing for June 6th at 6 PM. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Shane, do you want to talk about resolution 2022-18 approving the MnDOT master partnership agreement?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this agreement is necessary because of the funding source for the 2022 overlay project. And it just allows us to use MnDOT's personnel to do laboratory testing at the bituminous plant. So basically, we're required to take a couple of samples from the bituminous plant. MnDOT already has a bunch of guys at all the plants anyways doing this testing. And so by entering into this partnership agreement, it allows them to do that testing and then provide us with the results. And they do so at a cost, but it's usually pretty minimal. I don't think I've seen an invoice that's over $1,000. So it's
Okay. Yep. Perfect. Okay. So if you guys are good with that, I would take a motion and a second on that one.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Leroy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Al. So I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2022-18 approving the MnDOT master partnership agreement. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Crack filling quote, Shane.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we received 2 quotes for our annual crack filling program. The lowest quote was from Seal Tech in the amount of $47,636. That is over the amount that we budget each year, which is $35,000. However, speaking with Dominique, we think that we have monies available from a gas tax payment from the state. And then we also have some maintenance monies from our MSA allotment. So with that, I guess we'd recommend that the city award the contract to Seal Tech, and Seal Tech has been doing the crack filling for the last couple of years.
Yep. Shane, do we have a map of the roads to be crack filled yet?
You know what? I do. That went out with the quote package. And I
Okay.
could email that out.
If you would, please email it out to the council members when you have a chance.
Was Scottsview on that, Shane?
Just let me take a look here. Yes, Scottsview is on.
How's that for fast?
Supposedly, there's
Yeah, but-
one crack that you could lose a cell phone.
We have a resident lose a cell phone in the crack. Yep. All right. So if you guys are comfortable with that, I would take a motion to approve the Seal Tech. Did you have another question?
I just had a question for
Sure.
Shane. Is this overage expected to be a new price reset? Or is this a materials and inflationary cost for this year?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer because it's really, what we're seeing is a lot of things are more expensive this year. The sealant is a petroleum product, so I think when petroleum prices are high, it's anticipated that the costs go up. I don't know if this is the new normal or not.
Just to clarify, it's not because our cracks are worse, they're the
Right.
expected. So I'm just
Material, yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what we're gonna.
It's been pretty consistent year over year,
Yeah.
and it's been pretty low the last several years. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, if you guys are comfortable with that, I would take a motion to approve the award the crack filling quote to Seal Tech for $47,636. Thank you, Andrew.
Second.
Thank you, Brent. Motion is second to award the crack filling quote to Seal Tech at the price of $47,636,000. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, Shane, resolution 2022-19, ordering plans and specs for the 2022 microsurfacing project.
Thank you. So this, the microsurfacing is a maintenance procedure that we're proposing to do on some of our roads that are where the surface is greater than 7 years old. So there's a resolution that includes the roads that would be included on this project.
And that's Hampshire Court, Birch Lane, Fern Drive, Crimson Court, Stonebridge Court, Lone Oak Court, Deer Run Court, Pheasant Ridge, Valley Ridge, and Verna Lane.
That is correct. And our estimate for this project is below 175,000, so we can receive quotes. And if it's acceptable to the council, we would prepare plans and specs, send it out for quotes right away, and then likely bring those quotes back to your June 6th meeting for consideration. Just the way things have been going, when I spoke with Dominique this afternoon, we discussed that this project may come in above our estimates also, but that's something that we could consider at the time of awarding a quote.
All right, go ahead.
Shane, is this something that's gonna help with the popping of the pavement?
Yeah, I think, if we're talking about the delamination that we're seeing over in the Casey subdivisions, I don't think this product really prevents that. But this kind of rejuvenates the pavement and provides kind of a protective, it's about an 1/8 inch thick. It's almost like a new layer of bituminous. And so it kind of protects the pavement below from the effects of weathering.
Okay.
And this work is traditionally done in the fall of the year, usually done in August or September. So we still have plenty of construction time to
Sure.
have this completed.
Councilmember Stevens.
Hey Shane, just another question that I think when we discussed this the first time, kind of newer technology, high volume, high speed roads is where it had been used originally. Has there been any updated engineering or information on to back kind of Phil Leroy's question on, more city streets that are more residential traffic, or is this kind of still a trial for us?
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a trial. It has historically been used in higher volume, higher traffic roadways. But there really isn't anything to replace seal coating. And if you recall, seal coating, we've kind of paused because of the delamination problems. Our other clients have been using this now for 3 or 4 years on their local roadways with great success. And kind of what we're seeing is most cities that are kind of in our position are replacing their seal coating programs with a microsurfacing program, but they're just spreading it out a little bit. So maybe instead of trying to do it every 5 to 7 years, it's maybe placed at about 9 or 10 years.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you bring any, can you give us maybe when we look at this June 6th, just the price breakdown and the considerations of the seal coating versus this and
The difference in price between and the expected lifespan.
Yeah, I think that'd just be helpful
Yeah.
when we look
So
at this.
if we extend it out, so we've been doing what, every 5 or 6 years. So if we extend it out 4 years, what the difference might be.
Because
Yeah.
it sounds like the timing isn't double, but maybe the technology hasn't caught up to show the long-term effects. So I think it'd just be helpful that as we look at it, this is a bridging for us. It'd just be helpful information, Shane.
That'd be good information for when we come to the main decision, but I think we're, you're generally agreeable then with making.
Yeah,
doing
I just want to
specs
know
for
if
it,
there was,
putting out the bid, right?
I just want to know
Yeah.
if there was updates since we first talked about it.
Yep.
So that way, if we go with this, we'll stretch out our getting yelled at for getting oil in their cars and whatever.
These ones do pretty
Into the
good.
garages.
There isn't a whole lot of oil left when they're done with these ones.
No.
When they do these, they generally can drive right on them. Yeah.
Okay.
We'd like a Leroy clause of no yelling.
All right. So if you guys have no more questions, then you guys are ready to make the motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Leroy.
Second.
Thank you, Al. Motion is second to approve resolution 2022-19, ordering plans and specs for the 2022 microsurfacing project. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Shane. Next up, next item I put on there, local board of appeals and equalization, just to see again, we still did that this year. We are the only city in Scott County, and very few townships even do that anymore. We can decide if we wish to move that back to the county, if we wish to. And
I guess the question, I posed when we had it, and that looking at this spreadsheet is, I think it's easy to say this is a county issue. And we're a standalone doing something that maybe we shouldn't be doing. But then I look at the spreadsheet and consider the residents that were here, and then probably the positive effect that maybe having it had on the spreadsheet. That if we relinquish that, would these residents necessarily have had the avenue or the voice to get the results they wanted?
they would get the same process through the county with,
It's just giving them
no, you're
an
right.
elevated presence that and it's a hard question to answer, but were we able to get results for the residents that may have not been obvious or elevated as a presence without it? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm just saying, before we just vote something away and it's one less thing on the calendar for the next year, is there any benefit or is there any need for a conversation on that piece of it? And it's hard to say without the residents, after they had the follow-up. Like look at the first one on their bill.
Yeah.
Would Bill say, hey, I actually think this was a really valuable process, please don't, and I don't know, without
know.
their feedback.
But would it have been any different
I don't know.
at the county, other than he would have had more time ahead of it?
But
And
would he have had
and
a
then
stronger
if there
voice?
was a disagreement, one less step.
True.
Yeah.
I'm not,
No, I know.
I'm just,
Andrew,
I'm
I'm just
posing the
just my
question.
thoughts
because
into the discussion are the board that meets at the county are real estate professionals, right? Only one of us has a real estate background of any kind. You know, that's where I think about this is, is it, are we the right people to be making that decision?
And we really don't make the decisions in most cases.
Right. I can remember only one that we've ever really changed. And then that person went and sold that property 2 months later for twice what we changed it to.
They'd say they were pretty happy.
Well, I don't think it mattered to him, right?
No,
Because he didn't pay the taxes.
no,
on
I
it,
understand that. It's
Yeah.
not something I think that I have strong feelings either way. It's just something that I've reflected on
Mhm.
from that is there a downside to go away?
Right. You look
Well,
like
and
you
I
say
think that's a
something.
good point to consider, because it has been a tradition of ours, and there's some things we still do that are traditional. But I think the instructions say, when you get your evaluation information in the mail, that your first step, if you have questions, is to call the assessor.
Mhm.
And I don't think we had a lot of people, maybe none, that came in that haven't already called, communicated, emailed, whatever, and asked for the property to be looked at. So we had people here. Were there any?
Yes, so there was 2 that had previously communicated with the assessor.
Okay.
This time around. Otherwise, all the other ones, I think they wish they had. Because again, on the valuation statement is unfortunately should be written with bigger ink to call the assessor first instead of come to the local board first. Yes, Leroy.
I think we should keep it for another year and revisit it
Okay.
because customer service,
Yeah,
if we can get a step ahead of it, I think it's a great thing.
all right. Fine with me. That's what everybody wants.
I don't know if it's what everybody wants. I just
No.
think that it's worth the
I only put
conversation.
it on there just to have the conversation, right? I don't care
Yeah,
either
we
way.
talked about it.
Yeah,
And it's kind of like that subjective outcome that there might never be data or patterning, but
mhm.
something I would do, like the freakonomics of this, is maybe try to you try to find comparable properties and just see if there was a pattern to that, because they were able to voice their opinion one more time, had a presence, were the results better than those that followed the process on the back of the sheet? And that might be hard to figure out. but
Yeah.
I appreciate Leroy's comments is how sometimes, this stuff's, are you dancing a fence line and which way are you gonna fall,
Mhm.
So
Does
do
anybody
we,
feel strongly that we should? I mean, like, is their opinion, because I kind of want to hear it, like, Leroy's was fine, mine is definitely, either way it could be helpful or harmful, but this year it worked. Is there anybody that feels strongly that this was a waste of time and a waste of people's time, or that it's not a good, useful process?
Brent, you'll take.
I could go either way on it. I think that we're not the experts. Would some people rather come here than possibly have to face the special board at the county? I don't know if 3 PM is the right time, but that's the tradition. Again, we've always done it on a Thursday at 3 PM. I could go either way on it. It's one meeting if it's convenient for the residents. I think we should go another year but I think whatever we do, we should probably take a vote on it so that we have it for the record as to what our plans are for 2023.
So the other thing, just to make sure then before next year, we need to get some more people trained.
Yep.
I think I was myself, you're still good Program
I am
year,
good. I just-
you would need to get trained for next year,
No,
right?
I just
You
did it
just did
again.
this year?
I just did
Okay.
it again.
All
It
right.
takes about a half hour
Mhm.
online.
Thankfully, we don't have to go
If you,
somewhere.
if
for
you
that
have the
anymore.
wrong answer, kind of prompts you to
To
put
put the right answer in.
I mean, it's not real, it's not, no,
It's
I
not.
mean, it's.
But
it's-
what we have to have, at least one person.
Yes,
I'd be
Yeah.
happy since I'm kind of with Brent. I'm
It
kinda
could-
like,
Yeah,
It could help us, it could hurt us. And the other thing I brought up at that board meeting is without it, I'm not sure if the voice would be so loud to correct that if it went up 20% this year and it goes down 20%, would it be the right year to give that away? Where if next year we need as rapid a correction in a downside as we did an upside, I don't know, I'm not. sure.
right, and you don't know because you don't know the county special board could do the same thing, right? Yeah, they may be able to react better than we could. I don't know.
Why is everybody looking at me?
if you don't. And
Because we're the show right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a pretty heated topic. And if anything, it's listening for us to understand it better too. And instead of
Okay.
kicking the can, maybe it's worth it to keep it.
Brent?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just make a comment. We have to have a quorum. And so I think this is one of those things that when we look at calendar for 2023, and we usually set this, when the clerk puts the calendar together, it's there. If we have three, we don't have three, we automatically lose it for, I believe, 2 years.
Yeah.
So
That
essentially
includes-
at that point.
That
it would be
includes not
done.
having somebody trained. So if nobody's trained here, we lose it. If we don't have a quorum, we lose it.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
have to have someone trained
Mhm.
as part of the quorum.
Correct.
See, anything with that many loopholes, we shouldn't let go
But I think it's really important that we make sure that, I mean, what happens if we don't want to, and somebody gets in an accident or gets sick or something. I think we need to try to make every effort to be here. We know that date.
Yeah.
Like in December or January, when we set all of the dates for meetings and come up with the city calendar, so.
Well, I offered up again, Brent. No, we'll have an election, Chris, but I'm happy to do it. If reelected, I could do the training on there. That doesn't seem onerous to us to be able to.
No, it's just remember, there's a small window of time to do it. That's the tricky piece is remember it's training time and then pretty soon it's almost gone before you know it. Yeah.
They send an email out, you go into the
Portal.
into the Excel file, you see where you are, when you expire. No, I mean, mine was like, oh gee, I've got a half an hour, let's just do it and be done
Yep.
with it. And I have most of the right answers, so,
All right.
Training is 3 days before the election.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion that Credit River continues holding local board of appeal and equalization for the year 2023.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. Got a motion and a second to remain doing local board of equalization. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Anybody have any council member liaison updates or reports tonight?
Yeah, we need new cutting edges on the road grader again.
Okay.
The road is quite hard, Murphy, so
Yeah, it looks like it's rock hard.
I grabbed your discount thing out of it, 15% off at CAT.
Okay.
Maybe we really need to connect with you two, getting questions already about sweeping. I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they want their yard tore up, we'll sure go in there and tear it up. And let it dry out here.
Yeah. By the end of this next week.
Yeah, he'll get it
It'll-
this week.
Yeah.
Sure.
Leroy, what is that cutting edge before the 15% discount? What does something like that cost? About, if you were a betting person, what would you get?
$800 or
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
All right, I just didn't.
Well, we're gonna go with the
Harder.
harder and thicker,
Okay.
1 inch instead of 3/4.
Okay.
We'll give that a whirl.
All right.
You know, a farmer would just unbolt it, flip it around upside down and keep going, but.
Try that.
All right. Anything else? Sounds good. Well, next up, motion to, oh,
One
you
more
almost,
thing.
you almost missed it.
We're gonna do patching in
Country Court,
Country Court and
Casey.
Casey Parkway and John Deere Drive. Hopefully next week.
Yeah, they were doing some in Casey's edition Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
The Prior Lake was in there. Or as the sign on 21 says, Casey's
Addition.
additions, like additions. like-
ED.
That's all I
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
All right, take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Thank you, Andrew.
I made it to make it.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brent. Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight.
There you go.